Previously, I explained some forms of decision hesitance, which included analysis paralysis, risk aversion, complacency, unconscious incompetence, and not taking ownership. Now, in having a look at analysis paralysis, the American self-made billionaire Ross Perot, who also ran for president in the 90s, sold one of his companies to General Motors and in so doing gained a seat on their board. He very quickly became disillusioned by GM's slow pace of innovation and decision-making and started clashing with the CEO and the board. He famously said the following very publicly at the time, shortly before he left General Motors. "I come from an environment where if you see a snake, you kill it. At GM, if you see a snake, the first thing you do is go hire a consultant on snakes. Then you get a committee on snakes and then you discuss it for a couple of years. The most likely course of action? Nothing. You figure the snake hasn't bitten anybody yet, so just let him crawl around on the factory floor." This blow-up foreshadowed GM's deteriorating performance, which culminated in their 2009 bankruptcy. Analysis in itself is not at all a bad thing. Using the right and proper analytics and business intelligence is in fact a very powerful weapon in decision making and in executing strategy. It is when analysis becomes an excuse not to make decisions that it becomes debilitating. If you realize that the time to start is dragging on indefinitely, you should establish a drop-dead date by which you either have made your decision or abandon the specific task or project. But watch out for the extreme opposite of analysis paralysis, being extinction by instinct. In their decision-making activities, managers need to tread a fine line between ill-conceived arbitrary decisions, which is extinction by instinct, and an unhealthy obsession with numbers, analyses, and reports, paralysis by analysis. Now, risk aversion, where on the spectrum between risk-averse and risk-seeking should decision-making sit? Well, taking risks is a critical part of leadership. Hesitation because of risk avoidance kills opportunity. Without a good measure of risk-taking, humans would not have discovered how to fly. We would not have ventured out and explored new frontiers. We would just not try anything new. As they say, no risk, no reward. Risk avoidance encumbers strategy execution, but risk-seeking can be destructive. Taking blind leaps of faith, operating in a parallel universe of hope without substance, is not leadership, it's being cowboy. Luck is not a business plan. The difference between great leadership and responsible leadership is calculated risk-taking. It is to lead with logic rather than with emotion. When deciding to dabble in the airline industry, Richard Branson purchased a second-hand 747 from Boeing. In an effort to protect against the downside, he negotiated a deal in which he could give back the plane at the end of the first year if he has not been successful. By doing this, he changed the risk of starting a new venture into a calculated one. Let's talk about complacency. Bill Gates says, "Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose." There's a Greek term for this that describes it very well. It is called hubris. Hubris describes a personality quality of extreme foolish pride or dangerous overconfidence. The Greeks even created some myths around some of their gods to warn us of the dangers of hubris. Achilles, who thought he was invincible, but got killed by an arrow through the heel, the place where his mother held him when she dipped him into the river Styx to make him invulnerable. This is where the term Achilles' heel comes from. Or Icarus, who flew too close to the sun with his waxed wings. So what Bill Gates is warning against, don't make the error of thinking you have arrived and can get away with resting on your laurels once you have reached success. You cannot stop making decisions or taking new calculated risks when you have achieved success. To stay successful, we need to stay alert, be agile, as they say. Really, as we have all experienced since the pandemic, grow our ability to pivot. Now, conscious incompetence, that is when you are doing something wrong and you don't know what you're doing is wrong. Or to put it in a more interesting way, why smart people do dumb things. It happens when we don't recognize that yesterday's recipes will not solve tomorrow's challenges. From a decision hesitance point of view, the state of unconscious incompetence arises when we forget that we operate in a dynamic world and that we have to stay aware of constant change and challenge in order to remain relevant and to keep making the right decisions at the right time. It's about willingness to keep learning. Lastly, I want to talk about not taking ownership. This is a severe form of decision hesitance. The decisions required for executing a strategy are simply not taken, because those who are supposed to make the decisions won't take ownership. Why does that happen? Sometimes, more often these days, leaders don't know what to do, and ego maybe prevents them from admitting it or from asking help. Or maybe the message has not reached people that have to take decisions. They are not taking ownership because they don't know what the plan is. And a last common reason for lack of taking ownership is fear of failure. You have to be prepared to allow for slip-ups in your business if you want people to own their jobs. In the absence of decisions, nothing happens. And when nothing happens, we do not move forward, we stagnate. We become helpless and even depressed. Watch out for the causes of decision hesitance in yourself and in your business, and work to eliminate them very consciously and deliberately. See you next time.